Tonight, Health Minister Jeremy Cockrill has violated the province's conflict of interest legislation. The FSIN calls for changes to the law after the death of Bailey Maurice.
We're proud of you.
And we hear from the first former professional CFL player to come out as transgender.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, December 17th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thanks for joining us. Health Minister Jeremy Cockrill has violated the province's conflict of interest legislation. That's according to a report issued by Saskatchewan's Conflict of Interest Commissioner. Alexander Kwan has the details.
Health Minister Jeremy Cockrill has violated Saskatchewan's conflict of interest laws, but Conflict of Interest Commissioner Maurice Haroff maintains the violation is a minor one. It's all connected to Cockrill's time as an employee at Fortress Windows and Doors. It received $180,000 in contracts from the Battleford Housing Authority. Cockrill's in-laws own the company, and he was an employee there since 2017, years before he was ever elected as an MLA for the Battlefords. After Cockrill was elected, he consulted with Haroff and disclosed his employment. Cockrill left the company in August 2021, and Fortress earned a contract with the Housing Authority that year. The company also paid Cockrill a $2,000 end-of-the-year bonus. That's why the commissioner found Cockrill violated the law. But Haroff says Cockrill's actions were not intentional or deliberate. As a result, the only punishment he recommended was a reprimand. In a statement provided to CBC, Cockrill says he accepts the ruling. He also accused the opposition of attempting to smear his reputation to score political points. The NDP asked the commissioner to investigate this earlier this year. They say they will address the topic at a news conference Wednesday. This is the second time this year the Conflict of Interest Commissioner has ruled a Saskatchewan Party MLA violated conflict of interest legislation. Haroff ruled former MLA Gary Greywall breached rules by owning motels that profited from government contracts. A second report issued by the commissioner this week cleared Cockrill of any wrongdoing related to helium investments. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Opposition NDP leader Carla Beck has written to Premier Scott Moe offering to work together to respond to the looming threat of U.S.-imposed tariffs. In the letter, Beck writes how she is concerned Canada is not being taken seriously by the incoming Trump administration. She says that needs to change. This at the same time the federal Liberals have a leadership crisis. In an effort to show stable leadership, Beck offered any and all resources from the official opposition to help prevent the tariffs from being imposed.
This goes beyond partisan politics. We must stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners across this country and defend our province and our livelihoods. Simply put, this is a time for stability and it's a time for unity. If Ottawa won't provide that, then it falls on provincial leaders to do so.
Beck wouldn't speculate on retaliatory tariffs. Instead, she said the ones proposed by Trump need to be averted altogether. Beck invited Moe to meet this week to discuss next steps. The tariffs, if imposed by Trump's administration, would be effective January 20th. That's Trump's inauguration day. The Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations is rallying behind the family of Bailey Maurice. The 9-year-old girl in Saskatoon died when she was hit by a truck in 2021. Last week, a judge stayed the charge against the driver in that case. The FSIN says laws need to be changed. Dan Zakreski has that story.
This type of injustice is something that society can challenge.
Vice Chief Craig McCallum did not mince words.
The decision to stay the impaired driving charge in this case, it's a profound miscarriage of justice.
Taylor Kennedy admitted that she microdosed psilocybin mushrooms and vaped cannabis the day before she killed Bailey Maurice. But the judge stayed the impaired charge. She said that the trial had gone past the time limit set by the Supreme Court. The ruling stunned Maurice's family.
This little girl deserves justice, and that's not what we got.
McCallum says it's time to change the laws. The FSIN has some specific ideas to amend the criminal code.
What we're going to propose moving forward to the Senate is introducing amendments to the criminal code, and we're going to call it Bailey's Law.
McCallum says the amendments would prioritize cases with child victims, ensuring that they don't slip through the cracks in the system or are dismissed on procedural grounds.
Charge stays due to procedural issues shall not apply in cases where a child's death is at issue. Instead, the court must either set a fixed trial date within the adjusted timeline or escalate the case for priority resolution at a higher court level.
McCallum says a clear message needs to be sent. When it comes to the death of a child, justice cannot be delayed or diluted by technicalities. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Postal workers across this country are back on the job after their month-long strike. That was the moment Canada Post employees were allowed to pass into work. But if you're hoping the strike's end means your delayed deliveries will arrive before Christmas, well, Canada Post says there is a backlog of several million parcels, and it will take several days at least to get caught up. No new mail or parcels will be accepted until Thursday. No new international items will be taken in before December 23rd, with delivery delays likely into the new year. Changes have been made to the Workers' Compensation Act to better reflect the health struggles that firefighters face on the job. Helena Mahalik has more.
Firefighters in Saskatchewan now have better health coverage. It's being extended to include 22 types of cancer, 6 more than before. Firefighting was declared a Group 1 carcinogen by the World Health Organization 2 years ago. That led to lobbying and eventually amendments to the Workers' Compensation Act. In a statement, the chair of the Workers' Compensation Board, Gord Dobrowski, said, "These heroes often put their lives on the line to keep our communities safe." Tyler Packham has been working in the field for the last 20 years. He had a cancer scare himself and says there's nothing firefighters can do to protect themselves in the field.
It's being absorbed through our skin, so it's constant. We cannot get away from it. We cannot get away from it even when we get back to the fire hall and clean our gear and put our gear back on the truck and stuff like that. It's still contaminated to some certain level. So there's no way to get away from it. Any
full-time, part-time, or volunteer firefighters who have one of the 22 covered cancers may be eligible for benefits to support them and their family. That is, if the cancer is in a primary site or the location on the body where the cancer first appeared. The 6 new types of cancer covered include primary site thyroid, pancreatic, penile soft tissue, sarcoma, mesothelioma, and laryngeal cancers.
The things that are burning and off-gassing are changing. We can't even really keep up with it. So you get mixed plastics and synthetics and things like that are burning in car fires, and dumpster fires are horrendous for the amount of different products that are in it. And we're just exposed to more and more that are unknowns now. So for the government to presume that these are caused by the workplace is very important for us.
That said, there is a minimum period of time a firefighter must work before they can access coverage. For a cancer like leukemia, a firefighter must have served 5 years to be eligible. But for a diagnosis like esophageal cancer, the firefighter must have served a minimum of 25 years, or a quarter of their life. The coverage also only applies to new injury claims. A firefighter with a previously denied claim can also ask the board to reconsider it. Health Canada announced this fall, cancer is the leading cause of job-related deaths for firefighters across the country. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Sask Power's new Great Plains Power Station is now officially online south of Moose Jaw. It's located at the Moose Jaw Industrial Park. The combined cycle natural gas-fired station is now providing 370 megawatts to the provincial power grid. That means its generating capacity is equal to what's needed to power up to 370,000 homes. Sask Power's president and CEO says natural gas is an important transition.
Sask Power is currently committed to the growth plan objectives of decarbonizing electricity by 2050, and using natural gas to allow us to transition will allow us to integrate renewables as well, wind and solar.
More than 300 Saskatchewan companies contributed to the project. Construction started back in March of 2021. At the peak of construction during summer 2023, there were more than 600 workers on site each day. Overall, 70% of workers on the project were from Saskatchewan. Now that it's running, the plant will be operated by 25 full-time employees.
Merging these two different worlds, so to speak, together, and yes, being my authentic self, hearing the applaud, and it was so special.
Maven Maurer is breaking barriers. The CFL believes the 49-year-old is the only openly transgender former professional football player in league history. Earlier this fall, Maurer and her 2000 Grey Cup winning teammates were honored in BC. When we come back, we'll hear what that ceremony and the public acceptance was like for her. Stay with us. Welcome back. A retired BC Lions player has come out as transgender, becoming the first former CFL player to do so. Maven Maurer was recently inducted into the Grey Cup Wall of Fame along with her former teammates. Michelle Goussoup has the story.
She's no stranger to the field, but former BC Lions player Maven Maurer has never experienced a moment quite like this.
I really do feel like it catapulted like my healing and my just my ability to do this, what we're doing right now. I can't even describe it.
Maurer is the first openly transgender former professional player in Canada, according to the CFL. She was inducted into the BC Lions Grey Cup Wall of Fame in front of 20,000 cheering fans.
It was euphoric. When I played, I wasn't really able to soak all of that in. I wasn't able to really enjoy it. As much as I would have liked, near as much as I would have liked. And that to be able to have an opportunity to do that again, merging these two different worlds, so to speak, together, and yes, being my authentic self, hearing the applaud, and it was so special.
Maurer's CFL career spanned 13 years, 152 games, and 4 teams. In 2000, she was part of the BC Lions roster that took home the Grey Cup. While she was nervous to face old teammates after so much change, she was welcomed with open arms.
And so many said, you know what, we're proud of you. Yeah, we're family. We bled together, we sweated together, and achieved some really, this really cool achievement that we did with the Grey Cup.
Maurer says going public with her journey is breaking barriers in the world of professional sports and well beyond.
I acknowledge the courage it takes to do such a coming out, especially as a former professional athlete who was well known from the public, but as well the amazing role model that they become for those young athletes who will come after them.
The hope that others will see this story and know they're not alone.
The more people that are aware, they might not have to go through the same struggle, and they might not have to go through just the not knowing, I think.
Proudly celebrating accomplishments on the field as her true self, Maven. Michelle Goussoup, CBC News, Vancouver.
And staying with football, winning the Grey Cup is obviously a priority for the Saskatchewan Roughriders next season, but they also want to attract some new fans. Dan Plaster sat down with President and CEO Craig Reynolds for a year-end interview.
I think our focus really is on youth and families, and I think that's how you secure, from a long-term perspective, that I think that strategy will ultimately pay dividends, because that's how I became a fan, interacting with the team. And so I think the work we do in the community is really, really important. It goes beyond just the pricing of tickets, but when you get our players are our best ambassadors. When you get our players out in schools, this year through our foundation, between our reading program and our mental health program, we'll have visited over 30,000 students across the province. And so when you get our players out interacting with students, and a lot of them are new Canadians, a lot of them are Indigenous, so those are growth opportunities for us. So I think that, like I said, that'll pay dividends in the long haul.
And another great ambassador is Corey Mace.
Yes.
Looking from afar, I bought in. I rarely buy in, but I bought in. Is his enthusiasm infectious?
Yeah, it is. He is the real deal, and he is authentic. And what you see with Corey is what you get. He just every day he comes with that passion and that infectious energy, as you described. And you know, I just was so excited. He wanted to move here. He wanted to move his whole family here. They've sort of committed to the community. He's got extremely involved in the community. He was burning the brand at Canadian Western Exhibition a couple of weeks ago, and so those types of things are really, really important in the market. He's really embraced being a Rough Rider. He really understands how much this team means to the province and the people of the province, and you see that every single day. So he's exceeded our expectations. We had high expectations. After you meet him, you have high expectations, but he's exceeded those expectations. He's been everything we've hoped for and more.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Year-end clearance is on now.
We'll call it maybe the cold before the storm. We are looking for some frigid temperatures overnight into Wednesday through a lot of the province, and some snow, quite a bit of it on the way, including for Regina that you see here out of our tower cam in the Queen City this evening. There is lots to talk about weather-wise, but let's start with a look at our current, or our daytime high temperatures, I should say, throughout the province for this Tuesday. And, some warmer temperatures the further southeast you went in the province. An area of high pressure, though, moving in, bumping those temperatures down throughout the day in portions of central Saskatchewan. And those temperatures just going to keep falling as we head through the overnight hours, Tuesday into Wednesday. Extreme cold warnings in effect for much of west central Saskatchewan, much of the central part of the province, actually, down to the Parkland region. And then we have our next weather maker through Wednesday, a snowfall warning for much of southern Saskatchewan and some portions of central Saskatchewan. If you are the unfortunate souls who live in the Kindersley-Rosetown area and around Outlook, well, you're getting the best of both extremes overnight tonight and into tomorrow. This map is courtesy of Environment and Climate Change Canada. This is where they think the highest impacts from Wednesday's snowstorm are going to be kind of that corridor from Kindersley through to around Moose Jaw, Regina, down toward the southeast. That's where blowing snow is also possible, 10 to 20 centimeters. Outside of there, we're looking for about maybe 5 to 10 centimeters in places like Saskatoon and right along that Highway 16 corridor, and then some freezing rain even possible through southwestern Saskatchewan. So here's how this all plays out. High pressure keeps moving through overnight. A very cold night for many of us, even if you're not in the extreme cold warnings in southern Saskatchewan. Then that system starts to move in as we head through the morning hours Wednesday. That's our best chance as well for that freezing rain there through the Cypress Hills. Then we get into Wednesday afternoon, and the heavy snow begins moving through much of the south, again, kind of skirting right along that Highway 16 corridor. Moving out pretty quickly, though, overnight Thursday. We have kind of some clearing skies in the southwest for Thursday, while the rest of us stay a bit cloudy. And then, yes, another round of snow coming Friday. Definitely for parts of the province that don't get this system Wednesday, but even for those of us that are getting heavy snow, it might be another shot at it Friday into Saturday. Going to show you a couple models here like we did last night, but the models are starting to line up. This is kind of what we're looking at, a corridor of possibly maybe more than 20 centimeters in some places. Leader, Swift Current through to the Assiniboia, Gravelbourg area, Weyburn, Estevan. A couple other models have pushed this a bit further north. So Regina, we're just kind of on the cusp of that heavy snow, but you see 16 corridor northward. Not a lot of snow expected. Now, the problem with the snow is that we're also going to see the winds pick up. Visibility likely going to be quite poor, especially later afternoon hours, Wednesday into the evening and overnight hours. But Thursday, it looks like things will start to die down a bit. So Regina, I've put us at about 10 to 20 centimeters. Again, quite windy, chilly on the other side of this Thursday. Chance of some snow Friday, but that might be upgraded to a few centimeters once we see what's coming in the next couple of days. 5 to maybe 15 at most for Saskatoon. But those temperatures start to really pick up after the system moves through on the weekend, and we have some more sunshine as we move into the start of next week.
Oh, I saved you some space, by the way.
Do you really think this is fair?
I do not. I was promised a private suite. But thanks for asking.
Well, Wicked has become the highest-grossing Broadway adaptation in the U.S. box office history. Fans have to wait a year for the second installment of the movie. Universal Pictures announced its official title will be Wicked for Good. Part 2 is expected on November 21st, 2025. We'll be waiting patiently or impatiently. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. Canadians could see some relief when they fill their grocery carts this holiday season. After years of rising food costs, many prices have stabilized. And shoppers could also see a break on one big-ticket dish, the roast turkey. Paula Duhatchuk explains.
CBC News used federal retail data to look at how much more it costs to make a turkey dinner after 5 years inflation. The bad news, since 2019, many common recipes have gotten more expensive. For example, baking a batch of sugar cookies will cost you 38% more than it did 5 years ago. Cooking mashed potatoes will cost you 31% more. And making a tray of dinner rolls from scratch, that'll be about 29% more. The good news is in the last year, the cost of many ingredients has started to stabilize. The median wage has also gone up about 24% since 2019.
We're seeing some slight relief from where we were a year ago, so things aren't getting worse. It's still more expensive to eat a holiday dinner than it was 4 or 5 years ago, but it's the pressure is coming off a little bit as compared to a year ago.
Shoppers could also get a break this year on what, for many people, is the most expensive item on their holiday dinner table, the turkey. Federal data shows that so far, turkey prices are trending down this year. Economists say that could be because there are more turkeys available, and they say demand might also be down as shoppers squeezed by the high cost of living avoid the meat case altogether. Paula Duhatchuk, CBC News, Calgary.
Okay, the first of two big weather stories. Let's talk about first this cold weather we're expecting. Temperatures, as you can see, especially through the northern grain belt, dropping below the -30 mark. With the wind chill, it's going to feel like -40 in that part of the province. A lot of us feeling like -30 at least, especially through that central part of the province, but in the south as well. Through northern Saskatchewan, you're not escaping the cold either. This has been a little more of the trend, though, for you this last little while. But sky's going to stay mostly clear for much of the north as we head through the day. Again, though, going to be a chilly one well into the -20s for many locations. For south and central, of course, here's our next story, that snow which begins moving in for the commute in southwestern Saskatchewan through Wednesday morning. By the noon hour, that'll be around Regina and Saskatoon, and then that heavy snow moving in for most of us by later afternoon on Wednesday. And that is it for us tonight. For more news anytime, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.